Oh, hello, and welcome to Dente, Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. Tonight we have Cypocryphy for Ichor Fall this year. Since we're only doing one Ichor Fall story this year, because we covered a bunch of them last year, and there are a bunch of submitted stories on the Ichor Falls website, but I felt, you know what, last year we kind of oversaturated fall with Ichor Fall, so we'll just do one this year.
I don't mind either way, honestly.
Alright, I'll just start loading up the other ones. We might do a few other ones then, like, during the fall, but not like all of fall will be Ichor Fall. We'll figure it out.
Are there not enough good ones to worry about it?
No, we could definitely basically we could just do all the ones that have been submitted to the website, but
Would you be opposed to doing full Ichor Fall, Mikey?
It's another Ichor Fall.
I thought you were just going to be yes.
Yes, you're down for it? Alright.
So yeah, we're doing a submitted piece to the Ichor Falls website. Cypocryphy or Cypocryphy. Cypocryphy. It's a word.
Cypocryphy.
Yeah, that works. Actually, that could work as well. It was the story was submitted by an anonymous person, as far as I could tell. I couldn't actually find an author's name, which I found very odd because, even in the comments, Kris Straub commented on the story. So you think there would have been unless it was an anonymous submission, you would think there would be an author behind it. But anyway, so we'll go into the rundown. So there's this boy and his family in a poor part of Ichor Falls. I believe it's Lower Alethea. Just getting by in a 3-family separated home during the winter before the Ephelor Summer, which in 1953 was an event in Ichor Falls history that involved a chemical leak and the sickness and death of a great many residents of the town. It basically turned the town to a ghost town for a decade or two. While listening to the radio, his sister Catherine in the room as well, the boy hears an old woman's voice calling to him to sit by the fire with her. This alarms the boy and eventually the girl as the voice happens again and again. And when the mother comes into the room, Catherine's book that she was reading is just tossed into the fire. And she...
not by her, magically.
No, yeah, it's just
unseen hand.
She's just holding it and suddenly it just flies out of her hand. And when she goes to grab it to try and save it, she starts writhing on the floor as scratches start assaulting her flesh. When the father finally comes home that night, smelling of beer as usual, he is skeptical and eventually puts the boy to bed before dealing with the daughter. I'm not sure if it's before dealing with the daughter, who's seemingly being assaulted by ghosts, or the daughter, or later that night, the girl is starts screaming because she's being assaulted by the ghost.
Pretty sure it's later that night.
Yeah. Okay. Time passes, and Catherine has nightly injuries from the ghost, to the point where the parents plan to pull her from school because of all the bruises and stuff. That they're kind of worried that people are going to start talking that
they could beat the shit out.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. During Christmas, things die down, but then the day after Christmas, the entity begins again with tapping on the inside of the walls and ticking like a clock. They get noise complaints and weary eyes from the other two families throughout all of this. In the apartmented house, the Graysons and the Harts are the other families. The Graysons eventually leave, but the Harts remain. That sounded like that was I phrased that weird, or the way I phrased that is like the heart remains. Maybe that was intentional from the author. In February, the entity starts focusing on the father, spewing hateful whispers to him and him alone, and then following him around the house. The dad stays out later and later, drinking and not saying anything when he gets home. Just kind of getting home and just like sitting on the couch or sitting, just getting home and just like not speaking to anybody and just hearing
while the ghost is harassing him.
Just hearing these voices in his that only he can really hear. March comes around, and that's the last straw. As he comes home early, as the father comes home early, and goes straight up to the stairs to Catherine's room, where the mother's already there. Catherine has been spending more and more time alone in her room since Christmas. The son goes to the base of the stairs as his father's body is thrown down them after a lot of screaming from above. The mother and Catherine come to check the lifeless corpse in a panic. Paramedics and authorities arrive later and get statements, but the family says that they either don't remember what happened or don't know what happened. The story ends with the mother taking the kids into the family room on the couch and humming an old hymn, or an old hymn, in a voice like an old woman. And that's the end of the story. So, that is the rundown of Cypocryphy, or how you had it before. How do you say it?
Cypocryphy.
Cypocryphy. Nice.
Cypocryphy.
Yeah. So we move on to everyone tolerates the grab acquisitions. So starting off with the one quote I have, Catherine's eyes widen for a moment as he head jerks in the direction of the hearth. So I think it's supposed to say Catherine's eyes widen for a moment as her head jerks in the direction of the hearth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my grammar acquisitions. So Mikey, what do you got?
So you got my one there.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have two front butts.
Okay.
And the first one at the beginning of a paragraph, so you know it's really not supposed to be there.
Fair.
But no one will remember this winter.
That's how it starts the entire sentence.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, just get rid of that but. It's like, no one will remember this winter. And then the next one. But it doesn't. It only sings to him strange, trilling non-words that sound like an old woman coughing or a pig squealing.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
That's your grammar acquisitions?
Yep.
Okay. Gamer.
I'm surprised. Alright, so, after loading this up and looking at it, browsing over it, I spotted paragraph 1, 3, and 5 all started with it. So I immediately went, uh-oh, Mikey's gonna have a field day here.
Yep, I have an it story.
Why are you shaking your head?
No, nothing.
Oh, you're like you're saying no, they don't start with it. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure they did.
And I'm gonna have a field day. I'm an it story.
Yeah.
How long is the it story? Because there's a lot of its in the story.
Well, I limited it to a sentence that began with it.
Okay.
Isn't that the original? That's the entire purpose the entire time, hasn't it been?
Well, I've typically also added it's where it is undefined.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's in the middle.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Okay. And then I'm taking Nitpick Nook first.
Okay.
I did it. In between paragraph 2 and 3, it's double space instead of single space like everything else.
Oh, God.
I know. It just breaks the flow.
Blasphemy!
It really ruined the story for me, to be honest. Then the quote here. It is 3 weeks before Christmas. His arm is in a cast. Brackets. He has forgotten why. His mother tells him he fell down the stairs, end bracket. And they're living in the cramped townhouse in Lower Alethea. So, where's the... Hang on. Either way, the calls out to me that the house has already been told to us. Because they say they're living in the cramped townhouse. Mm. So it sounds like it's a townhouse that has already been brought up to us, that they're referring back to, but they haven't.
I guess.
So it would be they're living in a cramped townhouse?
Yeah. I don't know.
Unless it's the only cramped townhouse in all of Lower Althea.
Yeah, I mean, I will, like, I could take it or leave it, but I can see why it's like, I could see it being a cramped townhouse, but I could also see it being just, like, the cramped townhouse, like, would work fine, but...
But if it hasn't been brought up before, you're saying it's then that would make it seem like in this town, that's the only cramped townhouse, and everyone knows that's a cramped townhouse.
Yeah, but within the story, it is kind of the focus, like the location. Like
it is.
So I don't. I'm not like disagreeing with you. Yeah. Okay.
Either way, moving on. They live in the middle. This is in regards to their location in the townhouse. Mm-hmm. Sandwiched between an elderly couple called the Harts and the Graysons, who are a little older than his mother and father, but they have a son, Theo, the same age as his sister. Because of the way that the Harts and the Graysons are put together, it's like right after listing that there's a couple, it made me think that the couple were referred to as the Harts and the Graysons, and then like the second family wasn't even referred to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, like
it made me slip up the first time I read it.
Gotcha.
Like instead of doing all the describing in one line, you could break it up a little bit. Like they live in the middle, sandwiched between an elderly couple called the Harts and a family of 3 called the Graysons. The Graysons are a little older. Blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Keep it separated, so...
You gotta keep them separated. Sorry.
That's fine. You should be. So, it is snowing lightly outside. Not right now, but in the story.
What? No!
How long is this recording been going on? Oh my god!
It's only September. In August.
Yeah. So, it's snowing lightly outside. So, the fireplace in the tiny den is blazing softly. Doesn't those descriptors kind of counteract each other? Like a blazing fire is a really wild and intense fire, I would think. And a soft fire is, well, soft and gently
blazing
burning.
Soft.
Blazing soft.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, blaze, like, is a descriptor for fire, though. So, like, it doesn't have to be, like, necessarily be, like...
Are all fires blazing?
Yeah, technically.
Then it's an unnecessary word.
Yeah, I guess.
If I was going to refer to, like, that's a fire and then that's a blazing fire, that makes it sound like it's a more intense fire. But it's a blazing soft fire.
Yeah, it's blazing soft.
So, how would you fix it?
Pick a word. Like, I don't know if it's a really, like, intense fire or if it's just a gentle fire that's burning. So if it's meant to be a gentle fire, then just say soft. Just the fireplace is softly burning.
Okay. Okay.
Surprised I'm the one who has all of these grammar-related discrepancies.
I'm going to be completely honest, guys. I read the story and almost didn't have anything to say.
You had to find something?
I enjoyed it. Like...
How dare you?
Yes. And an Ichor Fall story, even.
Who can do that?
And like, I was going to save it till my actual thoughts were finished. I was like, because I was going to say, it's like, and that's my actual thoughts. So, guys, what's wrong with the story? Because I don't know. Or I'm personally fine with the story. Like.
Fair. Either way, I'm not done.
Okay.
Number 7.
Oh, paragraph. Is it paragraph 7? You mean?
No, like grammar-related discrepancy number 7. The girl screams, falling down from the couch and reaching towards her book as if she might still save it. Mother looks on, her face blank, as he can only watch as her sister suddenly begins to writhe on the floor.
That is a little weird.
There's too many perspective shifts in this scene.
Yeah.
First it's the sister, then it switches to the mother, and then to the son. But because of all the shifts, I like completely misread it the first time. I thought it read like the mother looks on, her face blank, and she can only watch as her sister writhes on the floor. Then I thought, is it a typo? Because it's not her sister, it'd be her daughter.
Yeah.
And I had to reread it all. Yeah. Too many shifts. Next one. Her face is devoid of expression, and without reason, he remembers something. So this confused me. Since there's no break, the break in between the two thoughts isn't clear.
Okay.
Because it's saying, like, her face is devoid of expression, and without reason, remembers something.
Mm-hmm.
And without reason, he remembers something. So it sounds like almost that the he on he remembers something is a typo. Like, she remembers something.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like it's the same thing.
Which is interesting, because this story does have a lot of, like, punctuation, like to get a dramatic thing. Like, I remember there's a couple ones where it's just like, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's like,
the gist of it.
Yeah, well, it's like the period thing period done, period. Like, it was like, there's like, at the end of a
Really?
sentence, at the end of a sentence, there's like, it's like one word sentences, but it's there to punctuate a statement. But yeah, like, and there's a lot of that, like, in the story. There's not a lot. There are a couple of run-on sentences, or like nitpicky kind of run-on sentences, but like, otherwise they use a lot of punctuation in the story, so it's kind of surprised that they don't have one there.
Yeah, this one just needs to be broken up to, her face is devoid of expression, period. Without reason, he remembers something, and then lists what he remembers.
Yeah.
Number 9. Without reason, this is what he was remembering. Without reason, he remembers something. He has seen her in this pose before, and he goes on talking about the pose and all that stuff. So when I was reading through this, I had to rebuild the scene a few times. It essentially goes, I'm going to have to read it. He has seen her in this pose before, her hands gripping not the sink, but the window frame as she leaned out of her room to gaze down, saying something to the neighbor boy, Theo, who stood in the yard with his hands in his coat pockets. He was awakened by the sound of Theo throwing pebbles at his sister's window. So
there's a lot to like. In a movie, this would make sense, but yeah, like it is kind of I also almost think this scene is kind of unnecessary, like compared to the rest of the story.
Yeah, but either way,
yeah,
the weirdness is specifically the last sentence there, saying that like the first thing that should have happened at the end.
Yeah,
the first thing that should have happened in this. Oh, I remember. Is I was awoken by the sound of rocks at the window. I looked and I rewrote it actually.
Yeah.
Remember something. He has seen her in this pose before. Her hands. Blah, 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 blah. One night, he was awakened by the sound of Theo throwing pebbles at his sister's window. When he looked to see, he saw Catherine as she leaned out of their room window to gaze down. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Essentially, it keeps going back and forth normally.
Well, the thing that you're missing is that she's leaning out the window while he's throwing pebbles at her window.
Okay. So she's a glutton for punishment.
my comment on that is like that might be an artistic style from the writer to like show like that's like just kind of like throw, because this is something a lot of authors do to kind of like make a scene a little bit more artsy or a little bit more I don't want to say pretentious, but it's kind of just like when they remember, like it's fragmented memory kind of thing, right? So like they do the like what they remember, and then they remember how it started, and like it's that. So it's like
you know me, I hate.
I know, I absolutely know.
Once I build something, I don't want to be like, oh goddamn, I gotta take all these screws out and redo it all.
I know, I know how much you hate it. It's but like that's I'm just explaining why people do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and why it might be done in this story.
The way it was explained, it's like the kid was just standing there or just whatever doing it. He was already awake in his room, and she's looking out the window, and then it goes back to tell about why he just woke up or something.
Yeah.
To the sound of that, so I had to redo everything.
Yeah.
Mikey, you were going to say something.
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, and again, like, I thinking of this, I said I didn't have that much wrong with it, but apparently I do. It really is just coming up. It's like a memory coming up to the story. I actually had to read the story like 3 times to see if I could find something wrong with it I didn't like, and I still couldn't really find a whole lot I didn't hate about the story, or that irked me so much that I had to bring it up. But I will say this particular scene feels like I don't know if it seems like a red herring or like something that like I don't know, outside of like maybe just like the whole like theme of the story is kind of memories, because there's a lot of like forgetfulness or a lot of like
I get what you're
saying. Memory suppression in the story. So and like even at the very beginning, it's like the town has an older memory than most people do, or like something like that. Like people have short memories mercifully or like that kind of thing, or unthankfully. And so, I'm just like, why is, like, this memory suddenly just kind of pops in and then leaves. Like, there's no real rhyme or reason outside
you'd figure, because the way it's laid out, it sounded like in the memory, it's going to be like, wait, I remember her doing this before. And then in that memory, it would be, like, it would click to him why she got possessed in the first place.
Yeah, but really, it's more like, oh, wait, I remember her doing like this. And that has nothing to do with the story. Goodbye. Like the memory's gone. Like,
kind of, yeah.
Like, it's like, right? Like, just, So, I get what you're saying, though. Like, about, like, it's kind of like defragmented memory, and like you don't like it because it's
I had to reconstruct
defragmented.
it.
You wish it had been defragged
Yes.
and like been like properly like sorted.
100%, yeah.
But that's also not how some people write memories.
I know.
Because memories are supposed to be disjointed by their nature.
Yeah. But I get that, but
Yeah.
it's not even said that, like... It's not like the end of it is like, oh, right, and the reason I even saw this is because I was woken up.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't go into that kind of flavor.
Again, it's kind of red herring-ish, because it's like, it's just in the story. Like, I guess for flavor, like, to kind of give some more, like, characters, but I personally, like,
Yeah,
I like
Catherine loves to be hit in the face with rocks.
apparently, yeah. Like, I liked the story, and I still didn't really get the sequence.
Yeah. Here's moving on.
Yes.
Number 10. In regards to the paragraph about Theo throwing rocks at the window and Catherine leaning out the window. So that gets described.
Yeah.
And then the next paragraph starts with, he has heard pebbles striking at the window many nights since then, but ignored them. And this should be the conclusion of the previous paragraph.
Yeah.
Because it's talking about the exact same thing. And then after that sentence, it goes on to something completely different.
Yeah. Again, like...
Number 11.
It almost feels like the story has like ADHD a little bit in that one spot. Like it went on a tangent and then railed itself back in.
Oh god! And now I know how you guys feel. I apologize. Number 11. They're sitting around the kitchen table, and Father is glowering at him. Glowering, a scowl. I did not know what glowering was.
I read that. I was like, I wonder if anybody's gonna like comment like, what the hell's glowering? I was like, well, guys, it's like this.
Yeah. I was going to correct it to glaring.
Yeah, but no, glowering is actually a term.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. You learned something.
I did. Number 12. When the paramedics and the police arrive and ask each of them to in turn what happened. So wait, did I correct that? But not. I didn't put in. Hang on.
You didn't put in the right.
I didn't put in the original quote.
Shit.
Well, it's the only time the police show up. I could find it quick.
Oh yeah, the paramedics and the paramedics, the police.
Yes, you know what I'm talking about already.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to rack this up to punctuation, but yeah, I want to see what you had to say about it.
When the paramedics arrive, comma. When the police arrive, comma, and ask each of them to in turn what happened. So. It's kind of like the when is kind of unnecessary when you could just go when the paramedics and the police arrive instead of when the paramedics arrive, when the police arrive.
I'll accept your revision, but at the same time, I'm fine with the style that the author has used for that. Like, because again, it's a type of punctuation, it's a type of writing style, like, but
also the way it's saying is like when the paramedics arrive. When the police arrive,
yeah.
It's sounding like they show up at different times, but we don't know when they're being questioned, whether or not it's when the police arrive or when the paramedics arrive that they're questioned.
Yeah,
like it could be saying when the paramedics arrive, they check to see if everyone's okay. When the police arrive, they show up and question everyone. Like it sounds like they're sectioned out into two separate events, but I think they're meant to be the same event. When the paramedics and the police arrive,
when the authorities show up, basically. Yeah.
Number 30. No, there's no more. Okay.
Okay.
That's all I can find.
All right. Well, on to actual thoughts, even though I've kind of spilled the beans. Reading the story, it was very difficult for me to not like it. Because the brooding atmosphere and descriptions, neatly chronicling this phantasmal haunting of the family, there's something very, like, almost American Gothic about it, or just Gothic about it. Like, it felt like a ghost story, like a folkloric ghost story. Like I've read folklore stories, like from an anthology of like local legends and such that sound like this, like exactly like this, like the way it's written, it's the way it's told. Mm-hmm. And then the callbacks to Ichor Falls lore and little mentions to other stories always gets me excited. Like. The Graysons left after or moved on to a better part of Ichor Falls and waited out the Ethelor summer, only leaving a year after when their son disappeared. Ran away in the Stillwood. It's like that kind of stuff. Like always just gets me. And then even the sort of like Hollywood ending we kind of get, where the supernatural, which was previously focused around the daughter, is revealed to still be around and centered around the mother after the kind of climax of the story, which is the death of the father. Or perhaps it always was around the mother, and it just never really realized it. I'm just kind of a sucker for that kind of ending. Like, I've seen this so many times, and like most of the time I enjoy it. Like, it's just like,
but this time,
it's gonna get you, like, it's gonna get you, sucker. It's a traditional, like, it's a very tropey and traditional Hollywood horror ending where, like, they have to have that zinger, like, oh god, they didn't escape it, kind of thing. That said, one of the issues I do have in my actual thoughts that is a negative is I kind of wish the son had a name. The mother and father are fine. And, like, the Graysons and the Harts are fine. And then we get Theo and we get Catherine. We don't get the boy. Or the son.
Boy.
Yeah. He's just dad of boy. Yeah, just like boy. Son. Or honey. Like, things like that. So I just kind of wish the kid had I also kind of wish the family had a last name. Because I don't think they had
the Catherine family.
It's the Catherine family.
I don't know.
Or maybe they are actually called the Cypocryphy.
Yeah, sure, that's their last name.
Well, we'll get into that, because there's actually, I learned some stuff about Cypocryphy, actually, to write my nice segue review published. The title of the story, Cypocryphy, or Cypocryphy, or whatever, doesn't seem to have an official etymology or definition I could find, although it does connect to the infamous Bell Witch hauntings when you search it up online. So apparently it is the family name tied to witch families, which are
that's a last name?
It's a witch family. When I say witch family,
no, but that word is a last name.
It's a last name, or it's a family of like demons or witches or ghosts that were named at the Bell Witch during the investigations of the Bell Witch ghost, because the ghost said she had many names, and actually, if you read the Bell Witch story, there's a lot of parallels between that and this one, because it's about like a poltergeist that invades a home and like torments the Bell family. So there's a lot of it's a nice kind of nod to that, to kind of bring that in, because it's also kind of. It kind of borrows from an existing American ghost story and makes this kind of almost like it could almost be like kind of a connected thing to it. It's just in Niagara Falls.
It could happen in the same world.
Yeah, because the Bell Witch ghost is the Bell Witch ghost, but she has many names, and then apparently she is just but one of multiple families of witches or ghosts or demons that were plaguing that haunting. So they basically it looks like they just took the Cypocryphy as kind of a connecting dot for this haunting. I also got the impression during reading the story of some familial family abuse from the father.
He shows up drunk all the time.
Drunk all the time. The boy cowers from his father multiple times in the story. The cast on the boy's arm that he doesn't remember how he got it. Just that his mother fell down the stairs. Yeah. The rampant alcoholism from the father, and possible memory suppression / fear of beatings throughout the story. He feels like he's going to get hurt by his dad. When his dad's lingering over him in one night, and he's still awake and basically just sees his dad through slitted eyes, and he fears that he's gonna get hurt, but his dad just ruffles his hair and then moves on. The dad has some remorse, but he's definitely not a perfect person at all. And so I feel like the ending kind of has this, his demise is almost like karmic justice, or maybe revenge on the side of the wife, or just the entity that's involved. Because even when Catherine comes down, she's got a red slapped mark on her face, that of her father. So it's maybe her father slapped her or beat her, and then either the girl, the mom, or the entity, or something in between was the reason why he went flying down the stairs. So yeah, there's a fair amount of reading between the lines in the story as to because we get the ghost story part, the kind of blatant ghost story things, but then there's this kind of underlying undertone of family abuse and like again karmic justice at the end, or like with the father. But then like at the end, the mother starts trilling like a hog, or like with that weird like throat humming, like the Heim, like the son was hearing in the shadows, and the ghost even leaves the kid a message saying everything's going to be all right.
Mm-hmm.
So, it to me it's a very there's a lot of, again, reading between the lines in the story, but I really liked that aspect of the story because it gave the story a little bit extra depth to me. But that's my actual thoughts. So, like I said earlier, I read the story 2 or 3 times over the course of a week because I really couldn't find anything that I felt was like super wrong with it or like made it a bad story. So, what's wrong with it, guys? Did you find anything bad that you didn't like?
Well, after reading it, I was like, am I missing something, or is this just boring and mundane?
You son of a bitch. That's fine.
Because the whole book going into the fire and her going...
You went the mundane route.
I went the mundane route. She had a muscle spasm when she was reading the book, so the book goes flying, accidentally into the fire. She goes down to get her stuff, and then it's revealed that she has scars, not that she gets them there.
All right. That's fair.
And
you want to take that perspective.
There's hints of
It's fair
ghosts.
if you want to be wrong.
No, I mean, like, again, like it feels like to me, like you say, like you're bringing up mundane stuff. And it's like that's, and to me, like that's also basically all the criticism, like skepticism that people give ghost stories, like actual ghost accounts, which doesn't quite ruin the story for me. Actually, like, but continue. Yeah,
And then the old woman singing, and it's explained in the story that it could just be the
mom.
neighbor next
No, it's
door.
the neighbor, yeah.
yeah.
And then at the end, it could be the mom.
Yeah.
And then, like, everything that, like, all the damage dealt to the daughter could be the abusive father.
Yes.
Because we already know that memories seem to not stay long here.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. This is all being remembered, like, kind of in what I really like about the story is it's first person. Like it's not first person. I didn't mean first person. I meant it's in present tense. But it's done in present tense the entire story. Like it doesn't fuck up the tense. Or at least I didn't pick up any.
I don't remember examining how well the tense were set up.
Yeah, no, I did. I think I did the second time I read it, just to make sure. But yeah, like the present tense, like stays present tense the entire story, so it's in the moment, but it's a memory that the kid is going to have for years on end. Like he's going to have nightmares of this whole like situation for years on end. So it's kind of, it could be like completely mundane, and it doesn't ruin the story for me. Because worst case scenario, the whole thing's mundane just through the eyes of a child.
Yeah,
Which makes it look supernatural.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or because it's Ichor Falls, there is a supernatural element to it, but there's also this family abuse thing, and that's maybe what conjures it up. In fact, a lot of people believe that poltergeists are the product of children suffering from like family abuse and stuff like that, or they're like rebelling out of puberty kind of thing, brings out and manifests tolpaic things like the poltergeist. So yeah, it could be like something like supernatural again because it's Ichor Falls. It could be something supernatural. It could be something fully mundane.
Yeah, there was at least one story that was full mundane, wasn't there?
I believe so.
Like we didn't have to make a stretch to say it was mundane. Like in the story, it was essentially saying it was all mundane.
I want to say that was convenience, but I could be wrong.
I think it was the one where like there was a character. I think it was a woman, and she was just like not wanting. Oh yeah, she was in her bed, not wanting to leave, and there was a robber or something.
Yeah, and she was like terrified of like dark.
Of it, she was scared of it being a monster or something. But it was literally just a guy that just killed her.
It was her own fear killed her, basically.
Yeah.
And the same thing, kind of like this. Yeah. So, like, I like the duality of this story, even though you're bringing it up. It's like, oh, this was boring because it was just a mundane thing. I don't see that as boring. Like, at least my perception. It has a duality to it that it could be supernatural if you have that mindset, or it could just be like a mundane. Like human horror because family abuse is horrific.
Yeah.
But
then the mother pushing the father down the stairs.
Yeah, exactly. After he slaps the daughter, that was the last straw.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes flying down the stairs. And
Mother super strength is a real thing.
yeah, no, that is
Like lifting cars and shit.
Yeah, that's not even a joke. That's
Yeah.
that is a real thing. Also, like he's super drunk, so he's easy to trip up. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's my take on the story.
that's perfectly fine. I accept it. In fact, it makes it better.
All right.
Sorry, I was just like, it seemed like there's like, I was like, what's your next move? I just get jokingly, it's like, come at me, bro, come at me.
You're agreeing with him, though.
I know. I'm just like, it seemed like there's some like
you're gonna attack each other for some reason.
He's like, mood intensify, or like opinions intensify.
There's anime lines going around you.
Exactly. It's like JoJo. It's just like, whoa. It's like power the stands and will.
I don't know anything about it. We'll talk about it later.
Good. It's very difficult to explain. Move on.
Cool. Excellent.
Let's move on to something simple.
Moving on, note time.
Yeah.
First note is, I believe it's right at the very... I'm going to double check that. I should have made a note of it. Yes, it's the very start. It destroys a family. This kind of winter.
Yeah.
So at least we know that who the narrator is. It's Yoda.
Yeah.
It destroys a family, guys. This kind of winter.
Family it destroys this winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the writing style of the story. So like I know it's probably gonna piss off some people.
Well,
gamer, but at the same time, like I'm like that's part of the reason. That's part of the charm for me for it. Is the style. So
there's also a technical issue that I forgot to bring up because it's in my It story.
Okay.
But based on that...
Wait, why didn't you do your It story?
Oh yeah, you didn't do the It story.
But it's basically the first 2 sentences of the It story.
Well, you're doing it after you stop talking.
Yes.
It destroys a family this kind of winter. It is 3 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah.
So
It's not winter.
What?
December is still winter.
December 21st is the first day of winter.
Oh, Mr. Actual Technical.
All right. Listen, sir. I've had about enough of your nitpicking shit.
If there's snow on the ground, it's fucking winter.
Well, that's the thing. It's also there wouldn't be snow. It'd be surprising if there was snow in West Virginia. Because West Virginia, they don't get... It's like the southern states. They don't get snow.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Or if they do, it's very little snow.
November is winter.
Yeah. At least to us.
Yeah.
That is actually true. Like, because, it's... Technically, fall is August, September... No. Is it? September, October, November... No, it is... Oh, shit.
I'd say August is...
No, yeah, August is actually technically part of summer. Or part of fall.
Yeah.
But we always associate it with summer. Because of summer break. And then winter is December, January, February, March. Mm-hmm. And then spring is April, May, June, July, because April showers bring May flowers. Mm-hmm. So, wait.
This really isn't that important.
No, it isn't. I'm just. Oh no. There's 3 months in every season. Mm-hmm. So September, October, November. So, but December is still a month in winter. It is.
Yeah, but this happens 3 weeks before Christmas, which means it's still fall. And not winter.
I hate you. Damn you and your nitpicking. All right.
I don't care, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't bother me because I don't give a shit.
Exactly, yeah.
Alright.
And now...
No, whatever, I don't care.
You're just so defeated.
Yeah, you do it, gamer.
And now, an It story by Mike E. The E stands for evil. Or isn't it conjunction junction?
Yeah.
No, that's only if it's ends in but.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
For an It story, it's the It story.
So yeah, it's an It story.
And you just hear in the background, whatever. just like walking up in the background.
It destroys a family this kind of winter. It is 3 weeks before Christmas. It was a single residence, an immense stone thing, but over the years it has been sectioned off until it can serviceably house 3 families. It is snowing lightly outside, so the fireplace in the tiny den is blazing softly. It looks like she is preparing to say something, when the book jumps out of Catherine's hands, flies across the den, and lands in the fire. It begins with tapping and tickling, like the innards of a giant watch, but soon it becomes knocking, pounding, smashing. It comes to his room one night in the middle of January, crawling around on the darkness of his ceiling, and he fears it will come for him now, push him out of bed, blacken his eye. It whispers at him from the corners of the kitchen while they eat dinner, calls him names, says things that even make the old man's burly face turn red. It follows him around the house, its footsteps tapping in his wake, though, judging by the sound, it seems to have anywhere from 2 feet to 17. It is bellowing, animal-like, and then it tumbles forward, and its head hits the steps with a sickening crack. It makes him think of a lullaby. The sound rolls outward, filling the room, welling up from within her throat, as her lips are held tight and unmoving, and her throat bobs. It is a deep, sonorous, unlike any humming he will hear again, soft and grating all at the same time.
That is almost a, super streamlined, succinct rundown of the story.
Except the fact that the book flew into the fire, and then the book was crawling on the ceiling, tormenting them, and the book gave her exactly,
it's
and
the
then
haunted book.
yeah, exactly, and the book was walking on either 2 or 14 or whatever legs, so it's either with the book together, it's just
or
the two spines, or it's open up and all the pages.
Exactly, yeah.
And then the book falls and smacks its head on the
with a
stair.
sickening crack.
Yeah, of course, yeah. That's the spine cracking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the creature being derpy. It's like, I'm so evil, crack.
Whoops. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That story's called The Bookworm, or something like that.
Oh, the bookworm with a Y.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Because poison literacy is cool. Of course it is. As Linkara has said multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So onwards with the rest of Game Renio's thoughts.
Yes.
Yes.
So soon after the first sentence, it may be the very next one. Yes, it is the very next one. Towns have a long memory, the falls especially, though the memories of people are mercifully or unfortunately short. In a little less than 7 months, he and his mother and sister will move away, and the onset of what will be called the Elfinor Summer?
Ethelor.
Sure. So my question to that is, who, and who? These characters are described, they're brought up, they've already been... Once again, something is brought up like it's already been described, and it's not, so I don't know who these characters are.
Yeah. Well, that's for the rest of the story to get it. But yes, I can see why you would like it.
Yeah.
It's what they call putting things in the media res. Again, it's an artistic style of writing. But yeah.
Fair.
Also, it's it took me the second read to realize that they basically spoil what happens to the dad.
Right, it's not mentioned.
Yeah, in that first set of verses, basically they spoil that something is going to happen to the dad.
When I was reading through this, when the dad showed up, oh, there's a dad. I wasn't even aware there was one.
Well, I completely forgot about the
I think he was brought up once before, but he didn't actually show up. But yeah. And then moving on, there's a couple of notes I made in regards to specifically locking down the timeline it's in, because it doesn't specifically say.
It does without saying it, because I actually had to look. I actually had to pull out my my book of, or either I think I should use the website, but it's also in the book of Ichor Falls, a Quiet Community, that published version of all the stories that we did last year.
It says what year it's in.
Well, it mentions what the Ethelor, or what happened, the Ethelor Summer. It gives the date of that.
Oh,
1953. Although I guess it would be 1954. This would actually be 1952 because it's the winter.
That's exactly what I came to with my my guesses, because I didn't have that information,
yeah.
so I had to use other ways in regards to when they reference Fibber McGee and Molly. I looked it up, and it's an old radio show.
I completely I was like, all right, this must be some.
It's probably a thing.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a thing, or like the person's come up with some other creepy Kendall Cove-esque. I was almost wondering, like, are they just going to be listening to Static the whole time?
Then the next story will be Fibber McGee and Molly.
Yeah, but no, that's a real thing.
Yes. So based on the years that was on the air, this takes place either between 1936 and 1953.
Yeah,
that's how long that was on the radio. I might as well go into my next timeline lockdown one here. Hang on.
Well, but you can't lock it down because clearly it happens in winter before winter.
No. You're wrong.
There's a pre-winter every year.
Yeah. Everyone knows that November is just pre-winter.
Mm-hmm. It's a demo of the upcoming winter. Moving on. The next part about locking down the timeline and what kind of solidified it is Scrooge McDuck comics.
Yeah.
The first comic with him as the main character was in 1952. Bam. So, based on my previous timeline, this is either 1952 or 1953, which it was.
Bam! I did it! You did it without no having much knowledge of the Ichor Falls lore. I found it out through Ichor Falls lore.
I found it through cheating.
No, I knew the Ethelore thing was a thing. I went through because there's actually a history of Ichor Falls like timeline, and I just looked up where the Ethelore like summer happened because I knew that was a thing.
Yeah, that works.
And like again, like I knew like that I knew what the Ethelore summer was about, which is a terrible chemical spill.
Oh, that's nice.
That caused a lot of cancer, killed a lot of people.
Lovely. But yeah, okay, so that's that. Then moving on to this one here. Catherine sits on the couch, her legs folded under her. He doesn't know why, but she's taken to dressing up lately. Right now she isn't even listening to the program in regards to the radio, but instead only half paying attention, eyes focused on the open book in her lap. My question on that is, why mention that she's taken to dressing up lately when you aren't going to even tell us what she's dressed up as? She could be a butterfly right now for all we know.
I don't know, I kind of I kind of took that as like she's getting old, she's mature, like she's basically hit puberty, so she's getting more into like dressing up, like right where you're a kid you really don't care what you dress up as.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't know the age of the character,
Well,
so she could be dressing up as a fairy princess, or it could mean dressing up as in you're growing up and you're wanting to dress more fancy.
Yeah, and that's what I took it as. I just blatantly took that.
I just wish it said one way or the other.
Fair.
Because it leaves so much to be assumed, both the age of the character and what the character's wearing, and also her dressing up doesn't mean anything. It doesn't go anywhere, rather.
It actually does, to a degree. With regards to the idea, if you take this as a poltergeist story, like a poltergeist haunting, because again, like I said earlier, and I got this, I realized I did some work after, I did some little research after I read a comment underneath this one, where, poltergeist hauntings that usually spawn. They're usually, people believe, like parapsychologists and all that, believe that they manifest from young girls who hit puberty or have abuse and some of that. So I think it's another call. I think it might be a callback or like a very subtle hint that about poltergeist activity, and because she's again hitting puberty, so she's starting to want to dress nicer. At the same time, it could also mean like something like again like the poltergeist could be because of the abuse in the family, but again that nod is there because like if you know poltergeist lore, that's kind of what happens. So,
well, I didn't do research on that, so I took it at face value, and at face value, I have no idea what it was. So.
All right. Fair enough.
So I kind of viewed both of them as still children, not like prepubescent children, and because of that, dress up would mean costume.
Okay.
Because it doesn't say one way or another. But moving on. Did you hear that? He asks. Hear what? Is what Catherine said. And then he repeats what he heard. Catherine's eyes widen for a moment as he... Oh, right, this is a typo. As he head jerks in the direction of the hearth, then she blinks. It's the radio, she says. So, did she hear it or not? Because she seemed to imply that she didn't hear it when she said, hear what? And then after he repeats it,
Oh no, he doesn't repeat that. That's actually that's the ghost.
No, it doesn't say that. It's a conversation where he asks this, she answers with that. She answers with "hear what," which would be a question, which means the kid would respond with "Dearie, I'm cold." Like he just responded with exactly what was said.
I thought the same thing the first read. The second read through, though, I looked at that whole thing. It's like because I thought the boy was repeating the same thing, but then the next one, she's like eyes widening and looking over to the she jerks over to the hearth as if she had heard the voice over there.
So but she says it's the radio, which is not the heart.
That's what she says, like to kind of calm herself. I think personally that was actually the voice again, and she like looked over, and then she's just saying the radio because the radio's on, and she's trying to calm herself down. Like she's trying to logistify it. Like she's trying to be skeptical in that moment because she heard the voice. I'm not sure, like. If that's 100% true, but that's kind of what my headcanon is for that sentence.
I just wish it said.
Fair.
Because it made both of us think otherwise if that's the implied meaning of that.
Mm-hmm.
And even so, regardless, she said, "Hear what?" And then, okay, in the sense that she didn't hear it, and then he repeated it, and then she said, "Oh, it's the radio." Mm. She wasn't paying attention from the get-go, so it's weird that she said so clearly, like, yeah, it was the radio. As if, because she says, like, I didn't hear it. What did I not hear? Oh, yeah, that was the radio, even though I didn't hear it.
I do feel like there should have been a descriptor after, like, oh, is the radio?
Like this, was it on the radio? I wasn't listening.
Yeah, that, or if it is, like, that she heard the voice at the hearth, she, like it should be a descriptor after, like, it was just the radio, describing that she's like shaky and like her her resolve that it was just the radio.
Yeah, nothing changed. So because of that, it made me doubly make sure. Like it confirmed that it was just the kid saying it again.
Yeah,
because nothing changed.
Yeah.
So if that was intentional,
it does need. I think the problem is like some clarity there because when I first read it, I thought what you thought, and then the second time I read it, I was like, oh, I don't think that's the boy. I think that's actually the spirit again talking. And then that's why she's jerking to the looking at the hearth. It's not that she's looking at the hearth because she's not looking at the hearth casually. She's jerking to the her head to the side to see the hearth as if something has suddenly happened there. And now she's in denial. Like the next thing she says I feel it would have been like she's in denial, but it's not said that properly. It's not said that clearly to definitely say that. So.
Hate assuming things.
I know you hate assuming things, but
I need to make a song about how I hate assuming things.
And how you hate the English language.
Yeah,
and how
you
hate this. And how you hate that.
Am I fucking... What's his name for Left 4 Dead? I'm Francis.
You're Francis, yeah. You were legitimately... I hate the English language. I hate assuming things.
I hate having to rebuild scenes.
You must really hate the assuming song then.
I assume so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is.
Here, show me.
Apparently.
Moving on.
Yes.
I was about to read something and then I lost it. Where'd it go? How's that possible?
Ghosts.
Oh, okay.
It was on the radio.
Yeah, probably. Next quote.
Yeah. Yes.
And he can only watch as her sister suddenly begins to writhe on the floor, pulling her blouse out from the band of her skirt, revealing smooth pale skin that has been furrowed with red lines. To me, this seems like the most complicated way to see if you're okay. That's like if I Hulk Hogan my shirt off to see if there's scratches on my chest. I just lift my shirt.
I mean, she's also writhing in pain and stuff, so it's not like she's she's a little incoherent at that point.
Your mind would take the path of least resistance.
Not always.
If you had a chest burster coming out of your chest, would you do that, or would you go, oh?
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Just lift your shirt up.
It's for theatrics.
It's overly complicated.
Welcome to writing, gamer.
I hate writing.
It's because those markings were already there before, and her moving made her wince in pain. So she's like, oh, well, get rid of this by
that's if you're going with the mundane route. But yes.
It proves the mundane.
And then...
I remember that.
Now, the mother did say that she saw them, happen. But that's also, false memory and skepticism.
Well, technically this whole thing is a false memory.
Yeah.
Of ghosts.
wrong
A
way.
ghost of a memory. Hauntings. Sorry, Cypocryphy.
Cypocryphy. We really need to figure out how to say that word.
Oh my god.
There's like 1,000 ways to say it.
Yeah. Anybody listening, if you do know the name, like how to pronounce that, can you just put like how to pronounce it in one of our comments?
Phonetically write it out.
Yeah, please.
For now, it will be Cypocryphy. Even though that's totally wrong.
Or Cypocryphy.
No. So moving on. Things stay relatively calm until Christmas. Catherine reports every morning at breakfast what happened to her the night before. It pushed me out of bed. She tells her mother and brother. Relatively calm? There's a ghost harassing your sister. This is normal to you all?
I mean, it at a certain point, it does become normal. Unfortunately, this is the new normal.
Or she's lying and she fell out of bed in the middle of the night and blamed a ghost.
What are her
Really
black
sticking
eyes?
that mundane thing. Yeah.
Is it like once she's sleeping, like she doesn't have full control of her body, so just sleeping there, just like wham, punches herself in the face,
Or what's even darker, the dad's coming home at night and like going in there and like
in a drunken rage every night.
Yeah, and abusing her. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Possible.
Yeah. And that was actually the super mundane evening because she just fell out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
Because kids are more active when they sleep for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can, as a kid, not so much as an adult, you can start off sleeping one way, and then when you wake up, you twist, and then you're on
like
the other
upside
side.
down, or
Yeah.
you wake up under the bed.
Yeah. It's why night terrors are so prevalent in youth.
Mm-hmm.
And like sleepwalking and such. Yeah, she could also be suffering from sleepwalking.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on. Or perhaps, I'm not continuing what you said with... Never mind. It's not like because you're like, you said, she's
No,
suffering from sleepwalking. And then my next line was, or perhaps. It sounded like I was continuing what you were saying. But this is the quote. Or perhaps, it pulled my hair so hard I thought I would wake up bald. Ellipses slapped me. Ellipses punched me in the stomach. Ellipses gave me a black eye. Soon the bruises are so bad that mother is embarrassed to send her to school. Father consents when she asks that Catherine return after Christmas break, blah, 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 blah. So, are all of you you're all just letting this happen? Like no one even tries to figure out what's going on.
Because they know.
That could be a case. Or like, again, a lot of horror movies, I watched a haunting documentary where a family was constantly being haunted. Like, the children specifically were constantly being harassed at night by hauntings for months. And they couldn't do anything because they were fucking poor. And they couldn't afford to, like, go somewhere or, like, get some help from
Then
somebody.
say it.
Sometimes you don't have to say it. Sometimes it's read between the lines.
Sometimes you have to assume, right?
Yeah, sometimes assuming is right. But
like when you have to assume the entire story for yourself.
But,
He is a drunkard. He is a minor. So he spends all his money on booze.
I don't think he's a minor. He's old enough to have children.
But audience, I did that with the most like, not bemused, but like the most like irritated face.
I feel like you were ready for that. As soon as I went,
yes,
you're like, oh god, he's gonna stop.
It's like, oh, low hanging fruit. What's that? Oh, more. Oh, I want all the low hanging fruit from jokes.
Yeah, they're hilarious. Sure. But moving on. Then the mention of the of what's his name, Theo? Yeah,
Theo
disappears in the Stillwood. I'm like, yay, the Stillwood.
Yeah,
Perhaps
yeah.
Theo is the king.
Oh no, it's the 50s. So it was.
Why not?
Yeah.
When was the Stillwood King?
Stillwood King was in the 1800s.
Was it?
Yeah,
that's when the story was.
The first. Yeah, remember the Stillwood King is the first person who got lost in the Stillwood, which is in the 1800s.
Yeah. So he's not the king.
I don't remember.
He might have been eaten by the king.
He was probably one of the kids taken. Yeah, one of the people who went missing.
Okay, I didn't remember the timeline of it, and I didn't have time to look up the timeline.
That's fair.
Because time was of the essence.
Yes. Since you read this like right before recording, no, I know. That is a joke, guys. He did read it last night, I assume.
Yeah. Last afternoon.
Yeah.
But yeah.
After getting a message from Mikey.
Pretty much. He's like, by the way, I'm doing this and this. Like, oh yeah, I should probably start reading that. Yeah. Either way. The old man's corpse slides the rest of the way down. In regards to him hitting his head on the top of the stairs and sliding down the stairs. At this point, I was like, old man? Like, is that Mr. Hart? Or are you using old man as a way of what like a son would call his father? Or is this a random old man that broke in and was attacking them?
It is a term for father.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But it's a term for an elderly gentleman as well.
Yeah. But you find that out immediately, like, afterward, that it is the father. So it's just another... Yeah, you do. Like,
when does it say that the father's getting taken out? It says the old man is being taken out. The old man this, the old man that.
And then the mother, Catherine, come down, running down to inspect the dad's corpse, or the father's corpse.
Does it say that?
I think so.
I think it just keeps saying old man.
No?
Where is it?
It's near the very end.
Here's the paramedics.
It's before that, I think.
Yeah, the corpse stops at the boy's feet, stares at it. Mother and Catherine are rushing down to him. Looks of astonishment on their faces. When the paramedics arrive.
Oh. Okay, I thought...
It just says, old man at the top of the stairs, old man snaps his neck, falls down, lands in front of him, done.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Like,
People
again,
need names.
Yeah.
Or just his father.
Yeah.
Because there's also an old man in the story. Mr. Hart.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was Mr. Hart all along.
It's old man Hart.
Actually, it's not, because
No,
soon after it says, and they wheel the old man's body out under a sheet. The Harts peek out from their bay window. So Mr. Hart's still there.
Yeah. Also, I thought for sure... Okay, never mind.
Nope. Old man this, old man that. And then in regards to the ending, so the ghost is possessing the mother now?
Yep.
Or was the mother behind this all along because the husband is abusive?
Also,
I'm kind of lost.
It's left for you to decide.
Left for you to assume.
Yay!
Yeah. And then my last note is essentially just, it feels like there... I didn't realize I had a kind of slight note on it before, but it feels like there needs to be an investigation to all this. Like, you can't call the cops or nothing? Like, nothing at all?
They're gonna care?
I don't know. It just seems like no one gives a shit that all this fucked up stuff's happening. Like, not even the characters. So, like, no one investigates it. The characters don't care about it, so why should I?
As someone who has watched a lot of haunting, like, documentaries and stuff like that, like true hauntings, like cases, that's often the case. Like, they just try to ignore it, or they try to get by with it there, like in their house. And then when shit
you
like that
figured
happens,
they would talk about it at least.
yeah, sometimes you're ashamed about it.
Yeah.
Like,
If they
again,
all know what's happening, though, what's
I
there to
get
be
you.
ashamed about?
people have when that kind of shit starts happening, people are like afraid. They're ashamed that like this is happening in their home. Like I'm actually telling you, like this is what I've observed from other from real haunting like cases where the families are either skeptical or they tell their kids just to ignore it, or they are just trying to ignore it and like see if it goes away, and then like even when like scratches and beatings and stuff are happening, they try to ignore it. That happens in real hauntings. That's actually an attitude that a lot of people have, is keep it secret because they don't want people to know that they're weird.
And
I get that, keeping it secret outside, but you figure you would talk amongst each other, being like, okay, if the mother wants them to ignore it, then just say, mother told me to ignore it, so I'm trying my best. Like,
it's also the 1950s, so the man of the house has the power, so she herself would feel powerless.
And even like that's not even like just the 50s. That's nowadays. People like there's abusive relationships like that.
It's more so then because women didn't have the right to vote. And...
Yeah, there's less like independence of women back then.
Regardless, when the ghost or whatever the hell showed up and started actually directly attacking the father knew that they weren't lying. So at that point, you would think the father would be he's the one wearing the pants, so he'd be like, okay, kids, just try to ignore it, it'll go away. That's not always the father really doesn't do anything.
No, the father's kind of an antagonistic force in the story. He's not a hero. And again, that's kind of a thing that happens. Like he's probably like, again, to mimic or to kind of borrow from real life hauntings, I say in quotes. Sometimes the fathers and some figures are afraid to admit that they're afraid. And so like that's why he's staying out later and later and drinking more, because he's trying to bottle it all up inside, because that's what you do in the 50s and stuff like that, especially for like the time period. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not saying like yeah, it's not a like it's not. The reason a lot of stuff happens in this is because of human suppression or memory suppression and human faults and frailties.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what I find makes it more real.
I don't know,
but
it pulls it out of realism for me because it seems like none of the characters care about the other characters, even though they're all family. Like, I get it if the father's an asshole, but even the mother doesn't seem to care that these things happen to the father and also her children.
That's fair.
It's just, like, there's no conversation where it's just like, well, maybe if we ignore it, it'll go away. Like, if that was mentioned once, then I get why they're not talking about it. But, I don't know. No one seems to give a shit. That's the end of my notes.
Okay. Final thoughts? Even with your guys' commentary and stuff like that, it is interesting to see the opposite, because again, I really liked the story reading it, but I was like, all right, I need I'm sure the other guys have found some faults in the story, and even with them, I'll still recommend it. If you're a fan of Ichor Falls, or even just haunting story, like a story of a haunting and stuff, you'll probably like this story. So, yeah, I recommend Cypocryphy.
Okay. Mine's only a low-end recommendation, and that's only if you like the Ichor Falls stories, because of the nod to Stillwood sort of boosted a couple points. But for me, everything had an explanation. So to me, the entity was the red herring.
Gotcha.
And there's nothing that, in my mind, solidified that there was, in fact, an entity.
And because of that, it ruined the horror aspect of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It just made it hyper-realistic.
All right, fair.
And it didn't give me that sense of wonder or anything of the supernatural.
Yeah.
And it does have a bit of a horror side if you go with the route of the father being abusive.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something.
Human suffering is,
yeah,
by its nature, horrific. But,
but yeah, it didn't really do much for me.
Okay.
Because I found it boring and mundane.
Fair. I'm not gonna fight it, because I realized over the years your opinion on horror and some of that, or it's not scary, or if it's nothing, there's no supernatural element to it. That's your opinion.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So
for me, I hung on to the fact that the book actually magically shot into the fire.
Yeah.
So I wasn't leaning on it being super mundane throughout the entire thing. So it got bonus points for me in that regard. And the story itself of what's being told is good. It's just, to me, the execution of it wasn't the best.
Mm-hmm.
For example, names. The climactic end, it was essentially a silhouette that fell down the stairs, because I have no idea who it was. Even to this day.
Yeah.
It was probably the father, but I don't know.
Yeah, you had to assume, and you don't like assuming.
Yeah. Because there's multiple old men in this story. If it's meant to be the father, fine, say it. You've called him a father before.
Fair.
So, the story of what's being told, I'll half recommend it, but the execution, not so much.
Okay.
Because I just had to keep rebuilding it so much, and I had to figure things out on my own, and I don't know. I just had to build too much of the scene myself. Mm-hmm. And the constant perspective shifts were confusing, and everything I've already mentioned.
Yeah.
So, grand total, a very light recommendation, if you can bypass the if you can deal with everyone not being named and it not being clear who's saying what when and such.
Okay. So, in total, I guess 1.5 recommendations? Or 1.5 out of 3?
What's yours, a
It
1?
was 0. No, I mean, I know 1.5 out of 3, so out of the three of us, because I recommended it.
So,
he did not.
if I'm
if you're
25%.
He's saying,
I thought you. Okay, sorry. I thought you were 0%.
I give it some points.
Okay, sorry. So I guess 2 out of 3 then, if only because you guys were half recommendations.
But
I'm 0.25.
yeah, mine's 0.25 as well. So yeah.
Okay, so about 1.5. All right. Fair enough.
Sure.
All right. Well, this was this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below. It's posted, whether it be on Q6, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. You can leave us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. If you'd like to talk to us on Twitter, we're at Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow without the W because they took his one last character.
Or because my name's way too long.
Yes. And you can also contact me at Review Cultist. You can become a patron. Select the backer you'd like to support us at on Patreon at Al Dente Rigamortis. And you can get extra content, special episodes, early access. You get access to our Discord server that we're currently trying out. And for our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. And to the authors and listeners of our show and these stories, thank you immensely. Because seriously, guys, without your listenership or your writership or authorship,
Sure.
we really wouldn't have a show. So thank you.
Wordship? Wordship?
Wordship?
I don't know.
Wordsmithing.
Mm-hmm.
Or word cooking, since because the whole creepypasta.
Bring it into a pasta thing again.
Yeah. Also, if you'd like to check out, if you like the logo of our show and like to have it on some merch, we have a Redbubble account now.
We do.
So go over there. You can get stickers, shirts.
If you want ADR bath curtains, we got you.
Yeah. Mugs, coffee mugs. I'm going to try and put some more extra stuff on there, like maybe our character, like our personas, like on a mug or something like that, or even like some of our symbols, like the Gamer in Yellow symbol and Mikey symbol, and I guess the Cultist Corner symbol.
Do you have a symbol?
Well, I have like every time I draw us with coffee cups, I try to add like a little symbol on the mug, which mine's been like the traditional elder sign.
Yeah,
so that's kind of that was not copyrighted, but
it's not your own.
It's not my own, so I've actually, but I do have some other ideas for some logos.
Just do it
designs.
like a book with the sign over it or something.
Yeah, that could work.
Like there's ways you can do it.
Yeah. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis for Ichor Fall. Sleep well.